Speed.
Well, I wanted to learn Indian dance because I was trained, first of all, in ballet and then modern dance. And I'd seen Indian dance performed, and I just felt it was for me. It seemed to suit my body. I was also trained in drama, and of course there's a very dramatic side to Indian dancing.
Must be... Look straight ahead, all of you. You should have the right expression. And when you do that gesture, you have to look in the line of the hand and smile, don't forget.
I find Indian dance difficult to learn, and to get the rhythms and the movements of the body takes a bit of time.
Bend to each side. Backwards. Stay. Stay.
No, I didn't find Tara an easy person. I found Tara rather tough. And she makes you really bend and make you really work hard.
I think Tara is an easy teacher to learn from, because she explains very well the movements, and towards repetition one tends to understand them in the body.
Stay, 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 stay. And bend to the opposite side of the hand.
I find Tara a very inspiring teacher to learn from, because she's not only an expert and exponent at her art, but also to look at. It's very inspiring to look at a very good dancer. And Tara is very graceful and beautiful to look at as a dancer.
Stay, 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 stay.
Tara Rajkumar was born in southern India, and she came to Britain in 1972. She lives in Ealing, West London, with her lecturer husband and their 2 small children. She's a renowned exponent of Kathakali and Mohini Attam dance, which originates from Kerala in southern India. She has performed all over the UK, and in 1978 she started her own dance academy. I asked Tara about her first impressions of England.
Fortunately, I felt at home. First of all, there wasn't any language problem. I could speak English without any problem. So communication problem wasn't there. And soon after coming here, I started dancing, and there was always a good response, which meant that I sort of got absorbed into the sort of setup here fairly quickly.
Now, you started when you were 5. Whose decision was that?
I think partly mine, in the sense that I made it very obvious that I wanted to dance. And my parents, fortunately, gave me all the sort of support and sort of put me under very good teachers. And that helped, there's no doubt about that, because the quality of your dancing depends so much on the sort of teaching that you get, the quality of it, especially the technique. If you start off learning from a teacher who's not very good, you are handicapped in a way. And I've been fortunate in having very, very good teachers right from the beginning. I think that has been a big plus point for me, and the support from my parents for that.
Is it unusual in India to gain that kind of support from parents?
It was. It isn't anymore. It's been a big change during the last 20 years. When I started learning, my father's very, very interested in dance and music and everything, which was a great help. But, for example, I come from an aristocratic family, sort of fathers, whatever. Anyway, because of that, my grandmother called me and said, it's all right to learn dancing, but don't perform on the stage, for God's sake. And that has been the sort of attitude all along, until I started performing in theatres, and there were sort of good reviews in newspapers and things like that, and then it was accepted. And I mean, my grandmother's thrilled that I'm doing things here and everything. So the whole attitude in India has changed considerably.
Now, start staying young, dance. Hit staying young.
Every mother, I think, wants her daughter to be, not necessarily a dancer, but at least definitely learn dancing. Whether they continue or not is up to them. So it has changed.
I always thought of Indian dance as almost being a sacred activity. Part of the temple?
Not anymore. And not all of the styles. You see, when you think of India, there are many, many different styles. Different parts of it. It's almost like thinking of Europe, because each state is a different place. I mean, different language, different way of eating, different food. Everything, is sort of different from state to state. And they have their own classical styles as well of dance. Some of them have been performed as a part of the ritual inside temples, called temple dancing, but others have not been. There are court dancers. One of the styles in India is a court dance style. Now the Kathakali, the style that I do, is never performed as a ritual, but it's a dance drama, and the stories are all mythological, and stories about gods. That is there. Probably mainly because in ancient India, the temple was a sort of art center where everything happened. It's a whole way of life that is represented in the dancing. The sort of way of life in India. It's brought out, I think it's closer to the Indian culture than the dancing in the West is to the Western culture. You know what I'm trying to say? The dance in the West is not probably so close to its culture, the cultural links. It brings out the Indian way of life, the Indian dance, much more. It's very closer to it, it enacts everything true to life. Mimes, say, sort of churning of butter in the villages. When you show that on stage, you show it as it is actually done in the villages. So, the lifestyle is actually depicted on stage in many ways. So there is that, and also the beliefs of the people, the poetry, the literature.
It sounds almost as if dance in India is the culmination of all the arts.
I would definitely like to believe that, yes.
It's a total experience. It's not just an audience sort of sitting there watching some people dance. Demands are made on the audience?
Oh, yes. I'll talk of Kathakali because that's the style I do, and it's a lovely dance drama, very ornate in its costume and everything. And it actually shows the stories of the gods, like Krishna and Rama and, all the sort of well-known gods in Hindu mythology. And I'll tell you, for example, lovely incidents. If you have Lord Krishna coming onto stage, for the first time that evening, you'll get old ladies getting up and prostrating there and saying, "Oh Lord," sort of fantastic sort of feeling there. And then this happens. It's sort of taken as a normal part of the whole thing. And there'll be, there are certain scenes when people will be sitting and crying, whereas the dancer won't be doing all that much. He'll be just sitting and doing the mime, because it's a poignant sort of situation in the story. And it's very, very true for the audience, because they've right from the beginning been hearing the story and knowing all about the characters and how important it is. That sort of situation. And then we have artists actually coming in, so if it's a sort of fight between a demon and the god, the demon actually comes through the audience. He runs up and down and calls the god to come down, and sort of they actually enact the fight in between the audience. For example, if there's a scene of a hunter trying to get hold of a wild boar or whatever, somebody acting like a wild boar would run through the audience, and you'll have the hunter running through the audience, and it gets very exciting.
You were talking about telling the story. Now you tell that through hand gestures?
Yes, yes. Literally, we have a sort of language of gestures, you see, and we literally talk to each other. If you knew Kathakali gestures, or if you knew the Indian dance idiom, the gestural idiom, we could speak to each other without words, literally. Sort of, what is your name? That is, what is your name? So it's literally a language.
Just do it once more.
What is your name?
And the eyes are also asking that question, are you?
Yes. What you say with your hands, you must reflect in your eyes. It shouldn't be mechanical. It will become mechanical if you just showed the gestures. That's not enough. With the